Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart.
So I box dyed it this year, and then one time last year.
What did you use for the box dye?
I honestly don't remember.
You just got it at like the store?
Yeah, pretty much.
Not at a beauty supply?
No.
Okay. Do you know what color it was?
I think it was like a dark brown.
Dark brown?
Yeah.
How many times have you done it?
I think it's just been once a year.
Okay.
I've been averaging. Before I used to get my hair done, and then I just after a certain time I just stopped, and then I just go in and out of different things. So some other ones were.
So what do you like about these photos?
It's like the highlights, because I think when it grows out, just something that will blend.
You don't want it to be too blonde.
Blonde, like ideally,
Like
I
too
would
many
want-
like pieces.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it.
That one's a little bit more solid, those
Yeah.
ones. But the first one was a lot more dimensional.
Yeah.
Well, starting out, since you're dark, we'll probably do something a little bit more dimensional, and then
Okay.
you can work towards something more solid if you
Sounds
want
good.
later down the
Yeah.
line, seeing how you like the color and everything. The other thing is, I don't know how light the pieces that have been box dyed will get. We'll
Yeah.
try to get you as light as possible, but I did see a picture that was kind of brownish.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't get as light, we might be in the brownish family, depending.
Okay.
Yeah, it just depends on how light these areas are able to get. If they are, then we can try and definitely do something more gray. And then my gray tones are usually a little bit more violet based.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you mind seeing a slight violet hue in your toner sometimes?
No.
No? Okay. Do you want the front to be a little bit lighter?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week I have a brand new client transformation, and I wanted to share a close-up of her before photo because as you can see from our consultation, she did tell me that she did box dye her hair, but from her before, why I was looking so closely into her hair is because you can still see the gray throughout her mid-lengths and ends where she has the box dye. You can tell where it's brown, and that's probably where the box dye was compared to her virgin root. But you can still see that there's still gray in between, even though she did box dye, meaning like the box dye didn't fully cover her grays in those areas. And this is actually very rare. It's really not common where a client will come in that has box dyed their hair, but yet the box dye hasn't really covered their grays. And so the other thing I do want to note is that her hair is on the thicker side. She has a ton of hair, and as you can see as we're going through it, she has that line of demarcation from the color that she used at home, which is that brownish tone. And she did say she only used it like once a year or so, and then she has all her gray outside of it. So I really wasn't sure going into this because this could go one or two ways. It could lift really pretty because the box dye not covering the white hair tells me that maybe it was like a demi-permanent. And then the other thing is it could be that the hair that is box dyed is just going to be really stubborn like it normally is. So that's why in our consultation I explained to her both situations of what possibly could happen, and she was totally okay with either outcome, just whatever would blend her gray a little bit, make it a little bit lower maintenance for her, and all of that. So that's what we're going to be working on today. And of course I'm going to be doing my signature foliage balayage placement for all of my gray blending clients. And I know that this technique has become very repetitive. It's just honestly it's my go-to because I do double book myself. I do have a few clients throughout the day, and it just makes my life a lot easier when I have a set formula and it works for most people. And I would like to show how this simple placement can be so versatile on so many different clients and still work for them, but still kind of give them the look that they want. And yet, even though we are doing something very similar, they all kind of look slightly different because of the canvas that we're starting with. And of course, if you are new here, I will give you a quick rundown of what this placement is. So I usually will do a detail hairline around the nape. I usually weave that because anything around the hairline, I like to have it very soft, especially when they wear their hair up in like a ponytail. I don't really like to have any harsh lines there, but the rest of the head, everything internal and like here in the back, it's going to be, majority of it's going to be slices. And I normally will do this because I want the most amount of impact with each foil that I do. And so I feel like it just saves me a lot of time. And then also when I do retouches, it makes it 1,000 times easier to just kind of pick up where I left off. And normally when I do touch-ups, I'm trying to pick out the pieces that I did not highlight her previous appointment. So eventually the ends kind of get a little bit solid. And I do this because it just makes my life easier. It's a very simple placement and it just works. I feel like for so many different hair colors, like regardless of what tone or color they want, if they want something that is going to be semi-dimensional and not completely solid, I feel like there are so many ways as far as spacing and tip outs that you can really customize this simple placement to make it whatever your client wants it to be. And then once you get the perfect lift with it too, you can tone them to whatever color they want or whatever their hair allows you to and whatever it lifts to. So I will do a center section where I kind of just take the back in just one section. I call this my mohawk section because it's kind of like the center of the head. So like let's say they part their hair in the middle, I will take it in the middle. But if they part their hair on the side, I will kind of shift it according to their part. And she did tell me in my consultation that she wanted the front a little bit lighter. So right above her forehead, that's what I call the money piece section. I don't know why it's called the money piece section. I think it's just a general term that we use in the industry. And I feel like it's just something that is like, we all know what the money piece is. And so the money piece is pretty much what frames your hair color. And to me, this is always super important to go over in the consultation because a client that's been with me for years might want to change their money piece or the way that the color frames their face. And when they look like themselves in the mirror every day, it's like the first thing they notice, especially for me on my color. The money piece or whatever those pieces are right around your face is going to be the color that you see the most. And if that is not the way that you like it, it's gonna bug you. And so regardless if I've had a client and we've been doing a bold money piece for years, I will always ask, like in the middle of the appointment, to double check, triple check, to even make sure that they even want a money piece, or maybe they want something softer this time. I'll ask them, how did it grow out last time? But it's just very important to always ask and never assume, to show that you always care and that you're keeping up with what their needs are and what they really want for their hair, because clients can change it. Sometimes I want a bunny piece and sometimes I don't. But if you don't ask, then you'll never know and you might give them the wrong face frame for their color. So after I do that money piece, I do connect that top money piece with the sides, and then I'll do a foil right above the ear to connect that front and back. And then we're going to continue our slicing pattern all the way up, and this is going to be spaced out, I would say, 1/4 inch to almost 1/2 inch, depending on how dense or thick the hair is. Now, if the hair is on the thicker side, I will keep my foils a little bit closer together. She has that line of demarcation from the box colors, so I am kind of going in with a heavier placement because I really want to blend her hair and just kind of get a lot of that old color out. Off camera, we did do quite a bit of tip outs too to kind of brighten her ends and give it a really nice blend to where it gives the effect of a darker root into a lighter end. And I just love doing that, just to add a few tip outs on any type of balayage I do, because I feel like it just helps elevate it 1,000 times more. And if you're curious on how I do tip outs, I do have other videos where I do showcase a little bit more in depth of how I do my tip out placement. So surprisingly, her hair lifted really well and we were able to do more of like a grayish tone. So I'm going in with a demi permanent for the root shade. We are using a level 6 ash. And then later we're going to be going in with the Pulp Riot high speed toners, and that is going to be a mixture of the violet and that silver. And in the consultation she did say that she was going to be fine if it was going to have a slight violet hue, and if a client gives me the okay that she doesn't mind seeing some violet, I always try to convince them because it's going to last them the longest. Out of all of my silver toners, when I do something that is going to be more violet-y of a gray, it does last longer because the lighter of a silver it is when they leave, the faster it washes out. So at least if we do more of like a medium toned gray, it gives it a bit more time before it fully washes out into an ash blonde. So I always try to kind of convince my clients and see where they're at as far as dipping their toes with having the slight violet hue, but I always recommend it if they're down for it. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look for her hair transformation. This came out better than I thought. It like just blended so beautifully. Like I would not be able to tell that she ever box dyed her hair. I feel like she got really lucky as far as her lift, and it was kind of telling because the permanent color or whatever color box dye that she used at home didn't technically cover her gray. It just kind of shifted her base a bit, and so because of that, I feel like that's probably why her hair wasn't super stubborn. It kind of was like a demi-permanent in a sense to her hair, and it worked in her favor because she was able to lighten really light, and the fact that she opted and didn't mind having the slight violet hue, this is going to last her a few extra washes than a lighter silver would, and I feel like it just complements her skin tone very well, and it just blends with her gray extremely beautifully. And I love that we did the front a little bit lighter because I feel like it just frames and pulls the color all together and makes everything look super seamless. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.